Welcome to Sankofa Pan-African series. Please support us through Patreon and by buying me coffee. Don't just subscribe to this channel. Turn on the notification button, share our videos, and check out our website, sankofastorybooks.com, for history, Afrocentric stories, and other resources for children. Hardi Yakubu is the coordinator of the Africans Rising movement. He'll be talking to us about the Borderless Africa movement and how we all can participate in making it a reality. What do you mean by Borderless Africa?
What we mean by Borderless Africa is very simple. The campaign that we're running now was adopted last year at the All African Movements Assembly. That's the General Assembly of the Africans Rising Movement, where members convened to deliberate on different things. The campaign Borderless Africa is meant to push for free movement of African people in Africa. It's very pathetic that African people have less access to the continent than
foreigners.
And something happened very interestingly. When we were having that event in Tanzania, 3 people were coming from Senegal, and one of them had an American passport. The one with American passport could get a visa on arrival, but 2 with Senegalese passport could not. Yeah. They had to apply 2 weeks prior, and we had to go through to get them to Tanzania. So it means that if somebody from Senegal was to walk to the Tanzania border today with white American holding an American passport,
of course, it's been happening
to the place earlier than so. So the Borderless Africa is just to say that let the people have access to their continent. Let the people move, and let the people interact, and let the people trade amongst.
Yes, there are implications for the movement of goods and services.
Last week we just did the African Liberation, the week of the African Liberation Day. So many people do African Liberation Day. We take the whole entire week of the day to do activities. We had over 500 activities in 54 different countries.
Awesome.
A lot of them about, Borderless Africa. There were football matches, there were concerts, film shows, art events, peaceful demonstrations and marches, just to press home the concept of a borderless Africa, that we need to move. And very interesting, one group that did activities in Malawi, it was a women's group, women's farmers group. They are a collective, I think a cooperative of women farmers along the Malawi-Zambia border. There are communities along the Zambia and Malawi border, and they had serious complaints about how they're not able to move their produce to Zambia, the market in Zambia just across the border, to sell. And because of the imposed borders, they are not able to move their goods. So this kind of restriction is something that puts a damper on trade amongst Africans, and therefore limits our ability to expand our economic growth.
Yeah, but seriously, in reality, how will a borderless Africa operate? Because countries all have their sovereignty, they have their borders. How will it operate?
So the way the Borderless Africa will operate, we're looking at 3 main acts under the campaign. One is that visa restrictions, visa requirements should be removed. for intra-African travel. So if an African is traveling from Ghana to South Africa, they don't need to have a visa before they can travel. Same with in everywhere else on the continent. Two is that border restrictions be removed for people to move from one African country to another without any restrictions. People, and this is not a strange idea. The way it works is people move in from one place to another to go and sell and move back. Others move across. So if you look at the border between Ghana and Togo, some of the places around there in the Volta region of Ghana, for instance, people who live in the Ghana side of the border, who school in the other side, and vice versa. You know, with all these restrictions, they're putting, and maybe the school that is in the Togolese territory is actually closer, you know, to the and you also know that when these borders were created, these borders divided families, it divided ethnic groups, it divided significant cultural areas. People still see themselves as one. Have significant restrictions of how they can interact amongst themselves. And this is something that you see across the entire continent, because some people sat in Berlin in 1880 decided that they had these were their possessions, you know, and you can just imagine the arrogance and the impunity that these were their possessions, and therefore they wanted to divide them amongst themselves, and just took, you know, the map and created the lines without ever having been to Africa and seeing how the people
and I guess with the Borderless Africa, after the Africa Free Trading
African Continental Free Trade Area,
would actually be, you know, better implemented. It will be, exactly, you know, it will be more successful.
Exactly. And the third thing under the campaign is to roll out the African passport. You know, the African Union had an African passport, but for now it's only, I think, given to diplomats and high-level business people and all of that. We want the passport to be rolled out to all African citizens on a mass basis, including Africans in the diaspora who want it.
Yeah. In fact, that was going to be my next question. Yeah. That this Borderless Africa, are you conceiving a borderless Africa with one that has an equally open, that will be equally open to people of African descent in diaspora? Because whether we like it or not, those people were taken away forcibly, you know, and yes, the slave traders and all of that, you know, were responsible for the way their history has turned out. But the truth of the matter is that some of our ancestors actually colluded with the slave buyers, with the slave raiders, and all of that. And so, continentally, internationally, we're all asking for reparation. But I believe that the first step for us Africans as well, you know, is to come to terms with our history, you know, both the good and the bad of it. Because if we keep ignoring the bad of our history, that's why the current group of leaders we have, you can hardly find one or two of them, you know, who are actually aware of the role that history played in the situation Africa is in now. You know, so it's very important that these people who are outside should have access if they want. And they should not be the same restrictions that are, say, on people who are of not of African descent in getting access, you know, to come and work, live, run business in Africa. They must have
absolutely.
Yes, they must have a degree of access that the same degree that we, who are continental Africans have.
Yeah,
It's their motherland. They did not live by
absolutely.
choice.
Absolutely. So I think it is a point that needs to be emphasized every little opportunity we get, and we absolutely, with all the force that we can master, always put it across that you cannot you cannot isolate and separate Africans on the continent from Africans in the diaspora. Um, um, circumstances of growth, circumstances of upbringing, circumstances of whatever social settings, education, skills, things. You can always find such things being at different levels. But the bottom line is that we are the same people, and we are actually blessed as Africans to have such a huge
Yes.
a huge continent that is capable of taking care of all his sons and daughters, whether they currently live here or they live abroad because of historical phenomena and whatnot. So the third pillar of the campaign is about the rollout of the African passport, including making it available to Africans in the diaspora, and making sure that anybody who is in the diaspora, any African who is in the diaspora, who is minded to possess the African citizenship, should be given that passport, and should be given all the accompanying privileges and access and everything.
It should be a right. They should have a right to it. Yes.
All the rights,
Yes.
privilege, and accompanying whatever commitments that continental Africans will have. They should need no visas. They should have no border restrictions, because clearly this land belongs to all of us, and so
and honestly, with DNA and all of that, it's very easy.
Yes.
To implement. Apart from the fact that usually, because you see people who are really very light skinned, who are actually of African descent, and that you might not immediately, see from the way they look physically, but with DNA and all of that, it can be proved, and they must all have the same rights as everybody else. So in terms of mobilizing for the borderless African movement, are there specific things you're doing, the organization is doing at the moment?
We have a number of things. First thing is that we launched a people's petition, what we call people's petition. One thing that has to be noted is that everything that we do, every campaign that we run, we take it from a people's perspective, because we are people's. So we don't take it from the perspective of the high ups. We take it from the people, because as you know, there is an African Union free movement protocol that has been in place since 2018. In fact, it was adopted at the same time as the AFCFTA protocol. But that particular protocol on free movement of persons has not attracted much attention or much enthusiasm. Only 4 countries have ratified it as we speak.
I was going to say it hasn't been implemented by a lot of countries.
No, they haven't even ratified it, so it's not even in force yet.
Yeah.
It needs about 15 ratifications to get into force. Only Rwanda, Mali, Niger, and Sao Tome and Principe have ratified it yet. So we need to mobilize and push for the ratification of that. So we launched a people's petition, gathering signatures of people across the continent and diaspora to present, the voices, because you need to mobilize people's voices and make sure that this is something.
And how is that going? Were you able to?
So yes, we did. We have online. It's still ongoing. We have online petition. People are signing across, and then realizing that not not everybody is online, we also launched a process for offline collection of the signatures. So currently we have about 200 volunteers in about 30 countries who are going door to door, shop to shop, market to market, collecting people's signatures on paper and explaining to them what the Borderless Africa, and it's really exciting because if you see the pictures that are being sent across by young people across these countries who are bending down for people to put paper on their back to sign, conversations, videos of the conversations that are happening, and people nodding their heads to the logic of a Borderless Africa. Why it is. It's very beautiful. And one thing that excites me is that none of these young people, volunteers, is being paid a dime. They're doing that on voluntary basis. Of course, Africans Rising would try to facilitate their transportation and buying of stationery like pens and things like that. But they're given their time for free just to do this. And for me, that speaks to passion, that speaks to
an enthusiasm for what you're doing.
Enthusiasm for something like that. So it makes me feel like we can actually jump over the generation that came after the independence era and reinstitute that Ubuntu spirit in this present generation.
So viewers who are watching now, who might be interested in becoming part of this movement and, giving their time to see that it comes through, how can they access, how can they become part of it?
So it's very easy. You can visit the
website.
The website of Africans Rising.
All right.
africansrising.org.
Okay.
Africans is one word. Africans, not Africa. Africans rising.org. And once you go to africansrising.org, and you click on Borderless Africa, you will see the link to sign the petition and more information about what we're doing and all of that. But then I just want to mention also that apart from the petition, we have different country level or organizing on the ground. The first, we just finished the first round during the African Liberation Week mobilization. We're continuing to mobilize on the ground with border communities, with young people across the continent to spread the word of Borderless Africa with various things, film shows, concerts, demonstrations, and whatnot. Then we also engage the policymakers and decision makers to let them see the logic in ratifying the protocol on free movement. That once we are able to get up to 15 ratifications, then the protocol would jump into force. So these are some of the activities, and then also the media engagements. You've been great. You've been very graceful to give us your platform to also talk about this. We've had engagements all throughout the period from the time that we started the campaign, engaging the media and talking to people in local languages, what the Borderless Africa is about and how we can all get involved, because it is the people that sometimes when we talk about these things at different levels, they seem abstract to some people, but these are real, and people are when somebody joins a Zoom call on Borderless Africa from let's say between the border from Tanzania and Uganda, join a Zoom call from Tanzania and narrate their ordeal of having to renew, so many papers because their car number plate is registered in Uganda, or somebody narrates their ordeal of having moved from, trying to move their goods from Burkina Faso to Ghana and being stopped at the border for weeks, until their perishable goods actually perish, and they are not able to sell and make business. We cannot be going around borrowing money and preventing our own people from creating the wealth that could actually grow our economies, because we have everything that we need to make our economies better. We have them here. The only thing that is left is to allow the people to connect with one another. People may not get goods in Ghana. They may get the market in Togo, they may get the market in Benin, or they may. Why do you restrict them? Intra-African trade, as we speak now, is only 15%. And Africa has the least intra-regional trade amongst all the regions. And every study, every independent study that has come out that I have seen has shown how free movement can accelerate economic growth and bring about development and economic growth. So why are we not, why? Like, I just don't get it.
So are there any upcoming events?
So we've just finished the first round of continental mobilization of 500 actions and activities across 54 countries. We are moving also, we are now thinking about when the next round of continental mobilization will be, and we'll send out information around that. We would also be holding Borderless Africa town halls, both virtual and physical, and hybrid, whichever our resources permit us to do. And then in these town halls, we'll be hearing from border community, people living in border communities, refugees in different countries. I had to put it in
I know.
different countries, and we'll be hearing people who are displaced by extreme weather events occasioned by climate change, and all of that. So all these are coming up to push the agenda.
And all the information about how people can be part of these activities are on your website.
Also in touch with Sankofa Pan-African series from now on. So definitely people should keep watching and keep the dial on. Any new information that comes, we can pass to you, and then you can also share with me.
We'll be very happy to do that. Thank you very much, Hardi. It's been exciting, enlightening, just hearing, the work you and your organization have been doing. Thank you. It's awesome.
Thank you.
The kind of passion you people are putting into it. And it's something that we need. It's very important work that Africans Rising is doing. Thanks for watching. Please support us through Patreon and by buying me coffee so we can continue to bring you this series. Subscribe if you've not yet done so, and please turn on your notification buttons. Don't forget to share our videos with all your contacts and keep those comments coming.